This video is for you who's tired of hearing about realistic AI, but feels like everybody is gatekeeping it. Everybody talks about it, very few show how to do it. So this video is for you. I'm gonna break it down on how I make hyper-realistic cinematic AI content using Invideo Agent 1. And it's very simple, you guys. I feel like this workflow is so exciting because it's very simple and it's only 3 simple steps. You're going to write, you're going to, brain fog, right? Okay. You're going to write, feed, and prompt. Write, feed, prompt. 3 simple steps. What do I mean by that? You're going to first, before even going to Invideo Agent 1, and we're going to show you how to do it here, but you're going to write everything down that you can about your project. And this part is crucial so you can get things right, because the more you write, the more you plan things ahead of time, the less problems you have with editing, with making the footage make sense. So first things first, I write everything down. And then once you write things down, I usually like to do like notes, something like notes. So let's say if I were to start writing Metamorphosis today, I would begin with something like Metamorphosis concept. And here I would just talk about it. It is a concept of human versus machine. A sci-fi story that takes place in the future and has existential questions about what makes human human. So let's say that I started off with this concept, very existential, very philosophical, and then I'm gonna start dissecting it. Who is my main character? How does the story go? Where am I taking it? What are the things that happen throughout the story, and how do we get to the conclusion of it all? So I would write everything down, and then I would feed it to Agent 1. So alongside with the story, you also want to feed Agent 1 with your character. So you generated a character, you're gonna feed it. So this is exactly what we're looking into right now. So first things first, I gave the context that we can see here. So I fed all of this information. So as you guys can see here, I have the world building, I have the protagonist. Did I say that right? Protagonist. And I described her. I also have a little bit of the world, so like world building, and then I go into other characters. But as you can see, I always fit it with the character sheet. That's an essential part for our hyper-realistic result. Okay, so this is a process that you can do with Nano Banana. This is a very simple process of just breaking down your character into character sheets. But long story short, so it can get to the point of the 3 steps, I feed with the story and with the character sheets. Once that is done, that's step number 2. We are going to, after we wrote, after we fed, now we're going to get our prompts. And the reason why we prompt is because for me, my most effective way of using Agent 1 is to actually have the agent as kind of like a friend who's listening to the story that I'm telling. And then all the Agent 1 is going to do for me is push the story further. It's going to ask me questions about the story that I haven't asked myself and help me make decisions to push it to the most cinematic level. And then once that's done, it does an amazing job with the agentic of turning that story into a prompt, and then I use that prompt to animate it with SeeDance 2.0. So why not just tell the agent to just generate the videos. Why do I have the prompt? Because I specifically have a prompt template. And I'm going to show this template to you guys. Which is this prompt right here. So I am actually giving this prompt for you guys. You guys can come in video and I'll send this over to you. But long story short, what we're looking to do with these prompts is filling out the prompt. So you're going to have two parts of the prompt. You have part one and part two. And what that is going to do for you for those two parts, Invideo is going to prompt it for you so you don't have to do the heavy lifting. It does it for you. But essentially what you're doing is you are filling out the characters, all of the references that you need in a prompt. You're locking in the style, the cinematic style, which is a huge part, and Invideo Agent 1 does a very good job at helping you build the world for this prompt. And then once that style is locked in, you have all of your references for the story. Then part two of the prompt is the actual story itself. It's the actual shots and how you want it to shoot to make the most amount of sense for the story that you're telling. So the reason why I really like using prompts is because this style of prompting really pulls out the most cinematic videos for me, because I am logging in the styles, the character sheets, the references, and then Invideo Agent 1 is basically filling that out for me. So that's the best way that I find to approach long visuals. So let's go back to it and let's just type in an example. Let's make a 15-second prompt of a let's make a 15-second prompt of Anya, which is my main character. Let's say that Anya walking in a epic hall towards a truck. And then I am going to feed the truck using our prompt template. I'm gonna feed the prompt. And then I'm also gonna feed the location. And now I'm just gonna feed one more time the look that I want her to be in. And then once I feed all of that, for a push of cinematic touch, what I like to do is Look for dynamic angles, like top down from ceiling, um, foreground. Look for objects blurred on the foreground, and also um, a cinematic close-up detail shot. So what I like to do is I always like to train the agent to look for cinematic moments. Um, and regardless if I have that plan for each shot individually, that really doesn't matter because my agent is already trained. So if I'm not doing that purposefully, it'll do it for me to try and pull the most cinematic angles from each shot, and that helps a lot as well. So then I hit send, and now I just wait to get the prompt back. Now that we have the prompt ready, I can go ahead and just copy that prompt. So like I said, there's two parts of it. So as you guys can see, the prompt is pretty bulky, but that what makes our prompt very detailed and making sure that we get the best result out of it. So I am copying this as the prompt, and then I'm gonna go ahead and generate that. Okay, now my prompt is here. All I gotta do is now link the photos. So character, the prop, the location, and that's pretty much it. And then I have part 1 and part 2. And I like to first run that as a test. So I'm gonna do ultra wide, I'm gonna do 15 seconds, and I'm gonna do 480 resolution. And then I'm gonna run it 3 times and see what my generations are gonna look like. Beautiful. Now that we have some footage ready, let's go ahead and put that into the editing room really quickly. And that's the part that nobody talks about. How do they put this all together to really make it look like a cinematic footage? So I'm not even going to look through the results. I'm just going to kind of go with what we have so far and just play around with it. Okay, so now I am here in the editing room, in the editing app, Premiere Pro. I'm just going to double click and import that footage. And then I'm just going to create a new sequence from clip. And here we have on the timeline both two different results here. And then let's download the very last one. And because this is 480, it's not gonna look the most sharp, but it's gonna do it for the purpose of understanding how to put this kind of footage together. So let's just watch a little bit. Nice. She's walking and she approaches the vehicle like I asked. She's walking, she approaches the vehicle like I asked. Then she's walking and then approaches the vehicle like I asked. So I really like different parts of this. So I like the way she's walking here and here, but I do like the vehicle part right about this clip. And then maybe we can finish off with the hand. So I am deleting the second clip, and I'm only keeping the first and the third. Walk, walk, walk. She approaches it. She touches it. And then I always like to also cut mid-action. Makes it feel less awkward. So let's take a look again. And then she walks. The object on the foreground like I asked. Then here's the vehicle. And then let's cut from here to there. Nice. So as you guys can see, this is exactly how the whole process of metamorphosis is done. We go into it with the stories, the characters locked in, and then we feed Agent 1 with the most amount of information that we can. And very quickly, as you guys saw live, Agent 1 gives you back the prompt exactly how it's supposed to be done, exactly with the story that you asked it to do. So, hope you guys enjoyed it and see you on the next one. Also, comment in video and I'll send you the prompt template.